work. It's your favorite time of the week. We've got Coach Zaid in the house. Assalamu alaikum, Coach Zaid.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. How's it going?
It is going very well. The kitchen is still very hot from last week's interview. I was accosted by people in the public, I must say. Saying that that feminism topic was exactly what they needed to hear and what we needed to talk about.
You're lucky. I just got crickets from that.
Oh.
Lots of people that viewed it and some reactions, but I expected someone to tell me, like, what are you talking about? Who are you to talk to us about feminism? Why are you mansplaining things and things like that? But
yes.
Nothing.
That's why they came to the female. The feminists came to me.
So I'm assuming, and this is just me pacifying myself, that if people don't respond after they've listened to something I've said, they either really don't care, which I doubt, or they just don't have a counter argument.
If you all saw my eyes, you know on radio there's no faces because me, I heard the arguments. I think that we have opened the floor for constructive dialogue on feminism, the role it plays in our communities. And like you just mansplained it last week, right? The fact that it is a man talking about it already is a problem.
Yes.
It's already combative.
But why? Why do I have to be a woman to be able to talk about what it is that affects women or what women are having an impact on, in my experience as a man?
I think societal and cultural context has a lot to do with it.
But where did it come from? I mean, I probably frustrate a lot of people because I not just refuse to, but I also just don't naturally respect the kind of stereotypes and the stigmas and the kind of pigeonholing of everything, right? So just because it's traditionally not acceptable or it's not normal for someone to speak about the stuff that I choose to speak about, doesn't mean I'm going to avoid it because I need to respect that tradition. No, because it's that way of approaching things that got us to this point where we need to talk about these things.
Of course. And I think it's revolutionary to actually challenge the norms. I don't think that we should take anything that we're just being fed. We should question. We should dissect. We should welcome difference of opinion.
Yes.
And that's the thing we are trying to achieve by opening up the floor for conversation to say you don't have to eat up everything that's been fed to you.
But at least have a meaningful discussion about it. So if you disagree on merit, not because I'm the one saying it.
True. And your gender should have nothing to do with the credibility of your opinion. There, I said it. Okay.
I'm so glad you're saying all these things and not me, because then it will just be again me trying to tell people how it is that women must listen to men.
It's fine. I'll take it today. Today I'll take it because I will wear the bulletproof vest today and the helmet. I bring it. So today we have chosen to redeem ourselves by talking about gender bias.
Yes, and it's a vague kind of definition of what it is that I think we're going to unpack today.
Okay.
Right? But gender bias is not necessarily a biased thing. It's the understanding that your gender gives you a natural disposition that's going to create a bias that between males and females, they're going to complement each other in those biases. They're not necessarily going to be at each other's throats. So, yeah, there's this innate kind of... There's a difference in perspective. And I think that's obvious. But we don't respect the difference in perspective anymore. We don't see it as two sides to something that gives us a more complete picture. We see it as one side has to be right and the other side has to be wrong. And that's the problem. So when we talk about gender bias, it's about understanding that those differences are actually constructive. It's not necessarily obstructive or destructive.
So how does it affect us?
I think it affects us because we expect... Well, no, let me rephrase that. It's not that we expect, it's that we are led to believe that we should expect people to appreciate where we're coming from before we even listen to them.
Okay.
Right? We don't hold ourselves accountable for what it is that we're taking from someone else's input or someone else's reaction. We always just assume that if they're not reacting in a positive way or in the way that we expect them to, or we deserve them to, and the deserving word is just, that's a trigger for me. But anyway, it's that we automatically assume that they must be wrong and they insensitive and they don't understand and they are mansplaining and all of those things, because we automatically want them to respond the way we think they should respond. If that's the case, what's the point in any interaction, any engagement? If you're going to expect people to always come at you in the way you need them to come at you, you're never ever going to grow.
I think that's very important and crucial that you just raised. What's the point of having a conversation if you're expecting the other person to comply with everything that you say in the way you expect them to behave or react as well?
Exactly.
What is the point?
And that's the thing, right? There is a point to it, but it's not the point that we should be driving for. Mm-hmm. And the point of expecting people or needing people to always be assuring and validating and supportive and all of that, the point of that is to feed your insecurities. Well, not feed it, but to pacify it, right? It's to give you reason to feel as if you're not so bad. You're not lacking. You're not inadequate. You're not insignificant. So see, people are actually appreciating you. If you go through life needing people to appreciate you before you appreciate yourself or before you connect with your own merits and convictions, you're heading for a lot of pain in life, a lot of pain. And you're going to convince yourself that it's everyone else, not you.
And that's the thing, it leaks not just into your family life, your social life, your work life. As a person, holistically, it affects every area of your life. It means essentially you just want to be right.
Yes. And you don't see it as wanting to be right, you're seeing it as wanting to be understood. Right? And no one sees it that way as well, because the way you're coming across is not wanting to be understood. It's about wanting everyone to accept your perspective.
Sure. And your quality of relationships in life. Eventually, people just say yes to you. You, and like people are like, yeah, no, you're right. Have you experienced this? Where people are like, you'll say, and they're like, you're right. Everything, you're right. And you
if
like,
you say
yes.
so.
Yeah. You're like, yes, that's what I want to hear. And eventually you're like, no, man, this person is agreeing with everything I'm saying.
And then you feel like a fool.
Mm-hmm.
And then you blame them for playing you. And sometimes, yes, there's truth in it. Some people are just like, they avoidant by nature because they don't want to have confrontation, or they just don't have that conviction in having a meaningful conversation. So in that case, you need to be able to discern. You need to be able to tell the difference between someone who's just avoidant in general versus someone who is just not willing to put in the effort to engage with you.
Yeah, and then evaluate why they don't want to put in the effort to engage with you.
We spend so little time on the why because everyone's so fixated on the how and the what you do and how you must do it. That's it.
True.
And life is boring like that. It's like absolutely dead boring to just keep focusing on how you must do and what you must do.
Very true. There's no, they say, it's Simon Sinek who says, when you know your why, the how becomes easy.
Yes, absolutely. I think it was it Robert Louis Stevenson or someone, one of the famous writers that also said something along the lines of, the person who knows how will always have a job. The person who knows why will always be his boss.
That one hit me. Okay, so gender bias now. Why have you chosen this specific topic for this week?
Because, in every single conflict or in a relationship that I encounter, it's because they don't appreciate the differences that they bring to the table. And I say they don't appreciate it, I mean from both sides. This is not men not appreciating women or women not appreciating men. It's both sides. Because we've got this pervasive kind of prevailing narrative that says that we must always respond the way the other person needs us to respond. We must always be supportive and we must always be sympathetic and all of that. Mm-hmm. But we don't appreciate that there is two different ways of looking at life. There's two different ways of looking at a problem, at a situation, at a solution, whatever it is. And if we don't recognize that, we end up becoming oppressors, because then we force someone to do something the way we think they should do it without trying to understand why they just don't connect with it.
I think that's very important, especially for relationships, for people to be listening that different is okay. You don't have to.
It's not just okay, it's important.
It's important. And to accept it is important. It's not that, then it's like we're two different people. I've heard that. We're two different. We want different things.
Yeah, why? Why do you want different things? This sounds like we're going to end up talking about marriage here instead of gender bias.
Yeah, the biggest gender bias happens.
Everyone is so like in love and romanticized about
Yes.
how they just like met their other half and they complete them and all of that. You know, the usual stuff, right?
Yes.
And then they get married.
Yeah.
And suddenly it's like, no, we got nothing in common. How come? How did you go from being so smitten over each other to can't stand each other in the same room? It's because you lost sight of what was important. Before marriage, it's easy to look forward to what we're going to create together, this amazing life we're going to build, and how we're going to be there for each other, and how no one else gets us the way we get each other, and all of that stuff, right? And then after marriage, the expectations change, and suddenly it's like about me first rather than I want to be there for you and you want to be there for me.
So, how does gender bias actually destroy marriages? What role does it play in the destruction of the communication and the expectations?
And now we get cancelled.
We have to go there.
It's because women expect their husbands to behave like women, and men expect their wives to behave like men.
Oh, that is so true.
Men approach a problem and they expect their wives to be analytical and practical about the response to it. And women approach a problem and they expect their husbands to be sensitive and emotional and sentimental about it. If that's the case, you're never going to solve problems. You're going to create more problems than solving problems.
What's the right balance to strike?
It reminds me of something that I ask a lot of people. I get people who come to me that's been together for like 10, 15, sometimes even 20 or 30 years. And you know what's really concerning, if not sad and disheartening about it, is that after all of that time, they still need each other to explain themselves to each other before they understand where they're at. There's this excessive kind of intense dependence on words to communicate. We don't observe what it is that the other person is doing that is their own accord, that's their own initiative, their own sincere contribution. And because they didn't say it the right way, we dismiss everything that they do.
And it brings me to think about that 5 love languages thing.
Oh no,
right?
You're triggering me now. Love languages.
It's coming into my mind that, okay, the person didn't say what you wanted them to say the way you wanted them to say it, but they did acts of service for you and took their initiative in their way to take care of you. And I must tell the listeners, you can't see faces on radio, but the 5 love languages is nauseating, Zaid. Like the situation in the studio at the mention of that word, that phrase. But like, your significant other, it could be doing for you, thinking they are loving you, and because you're not getting it in the way you wanted it, it's not happening for you. It's like we want different things. You don't understand me, etc., etc. Does gender bias play a role in those expectations?
Massively, and things like the love languages just it adds so much of unnecessary complexity to the same problem. And here's the thing, right? I dare anyone to prove to me that they only have one love language. I'm challenging everyone out there to come to me and tell me, here's proof that I only have a single love language. Because I guarantee you, when you're dealing with your parents, you'll have a different love language. When you're dealing with your children, you'll have a different love language. When you're dealing with someone else's children, you'll have a different love language.
Yeah.
That's because you're not a statue. You're not a monolith. You're not a robot that has a preference of how you're going to do things, and everyone must just adjust around how you want to do things. And in the same way that you want someone to receive your love language, if you want to call it that, what are you doing to receive someone else's love language? So if your husband is more focused on being able to solve problems for you, and that's his way of being sincerely contributing towards the health of your relationship, do you accept that, or do you complain about the fact that he's not doing it the way you want him to do it?
100%. 99 times out of 100, it's you're not doing it the way I need you to do it.
Yes, and why must you be so harsh, and why must you be so cold, and why must you be so analytical or practical or insensitive or whatever it is? You need to consider whether they're doing that by intent. Are they deliberate in being cold and harsh and whatever, or is that just the intensity with which they approach problem solving?
Of course. And then once you are able to, separate that and understand the person, they didn't even know that that is cold or harsh. What's
Yes.
your definition of cold and harsh? You know, because that person is like, I'm just solving a problem.
And how many men don't feel hurt by the fact that their partners assume that they are cold and harsh?
Yeah.
Right? But men are not going to express that hurt and that offense in the same way that women would. They're not going to sit down and cry and bawl their eyes out and ask you to assure them that they're not cold and harsh.
What are they going to do?
They're going to create distance because they feel as if it's a problem they can't solve. It's out of their hands.
Wow. That is profound. I'm so happy you have this platform to speak
But
on
now-
behalf of your gender.
And before we lose sight of it, let's also explore the opposite, right? Because I don't want to be seen or someone must assume that I'm just here to defend men. I'm not. Men are failing us, right? We need to recognize that. And it's because men are failing us that we have things like feminism, and we have the kind of disruption in society, and we have the lack of structure and the lack of harmony and things like that in social cohesion and all of that. Because men are supposed to be leaders, providers, and protectors. You have to fail at that before a woman needs to step into that role, which goes against her nature.
Very, very true.
Right? So when it comes to the other way around, women would also need men to understand that they are not as pragmatic and as analytical as men are. So if a woman is going to be kind of emotional about something, you need to be able to create space for the emotion, but continue pushing forward with solving the problem. But if you as a man feel already that you may be inadequate, if you're insecure about your ability to provide and to be enough and all of that, you're going to see that emotion as something that feels like a reminder that you just never get anything right.
And that's demasculation.
Yes.
Because some women are inhabiting the male role so hard. They're going so hard at it that they almost minimize every single thing a man could do.
Right. But now, here's the thing, right? As much as that is just entirely unproductive, uncalled for, insensitive, unappreciative, whatever it is, as a man, you need to first believe there's truth to it before it's going to have an impact on you. Right? And vice versa. As a woman, you need to have a sense of yourself so that if your husband doesn't respond or your partner doesn't respond the way you need them to respond, you don't see it as a reflection of what they think of you. You can then look at why it is that they're not connecting. What is it that they're grappling with? What are they distracted by? How often aren't we so weighed down with our own stresses in life that we don't realize that we're actually being harsh or curt or short or snappy or cold with the people around us? Not because we don't appreciate or value them, but because we are so consumed by that other stress that we're having to deal with that we don't realize that we're losing ourselves to it.
I think it's so important because you have to heal in order to be able to see what your partner understand
You
partner.
are intent on triggering me today.
I am Sagittarian. It is the season for the archer to aim and
Oh my God.
So I really do. A person would have to have that ability to see that. Otherwise, you have a wound meeting a wound and fighting.
Okay,
to
fair
see.
enough. But here's my question, right? When we talk about healing, and I'm waiting for someone to answer this question for me, please. What does being healed look like? So if you're busy healing, what is it that you're healing?
Your own traumas that you bring to the relationship.
And are your traumas subjective, something that you perceive, or is it something that was a physical event that you can relate to and someone else can connect with? When you talk about healing, right? Healing is about reconciling in your mind the events of your life.
Yes.
How is the person across the room from you, across the table from you, across the chair from you? How is that person supposed to be able to show up in your healing journey?
I don't think that they're supposed to.
How are they supposed to even know that you are actually experiencing that?
That comes with communication.
How are you going to communicate if you to focus on your healing and not on how it is that someone is actually experiencing you?
And this is a problem for most women. This is why I wanted to go down this road. Because this is the number one thing that we hear. I need to heal. You need to heal.
Mm-hmm.
And once I am healed, I will be able to be a better mother, wife. I'll be better at work because maybe I'm bringing my past traumas to my current relationships.
Okay, and my question then is simple. if you need to heal, and that's your take on everything that you're currently dealing with, because like you don't know how bad I've got it, how much more are you creating as experiences that you then need to recover from because you damaged those experiences while you were healing in those experiences?
Absolutely.
And even worse than that, your healing journey, when you're so distracted by your past, how much of supposed childhood trauma are you creating for your children because they have to experience you in your healing journey?
100%. It's recycling. You're recycling experiences essentially. So we're gonna go to a quick ad break because yeah, I think that the studio is going to be lit on fire. Okay. So here we are talking about pressing issues that are G20 worthy also. I'm telling you, this deserves to be on the agenda. So gender bias, now we've covered relationships, right? How does this, play a part in your career limitations now?
Oh, in a big way. The one thing that I believe with absolute conviction is that you can't change who you are just because you're in a different setting. The only thing you're going to be able to do is create elaborate defenses and coping mechanisms to be able to navigate differently. So if you're not comfortable with who you are, you're going to have to overcompensate for that in the professional space versus your domestic space.
Yeah. So somebody, for example, a woman trying to make it in a man's world. Have you heard that before? Male-dominated industries where women are, trying to break through.
Why? And who defined it as man's world? So if we're going to look at it from that perspective all the time, I know people are going to think you've been just ridiculously idealistic now. We can say it's a man's world, and then we get legislation that says, no, it must be also a woman's world. And now you're forcing men to accept women into a space that they pride themselves with credibility and competence and mastery, right? It's like, look at South African politics. Look at the people they're appointing to the justice cluster and things like that. People that have absolutely no credibility in that role, but they're expecting people to follow their leadership. It doesn't work. The easiest way to diminish respect and integrity in your relationship with someone is to force them to accept your input on something that you're not qualified to provide, right? And I'm not saying women are not qualified by default. That's not at all what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that if women want to be able to operate in that space where it's male dominated, like I've said last week, if there's active kind of resistance to allowing women to even try to operate in that space, that's a problem we need to sort out. But the tokenism, the quota systems, that doesn't work. It just erodes the quality of what you're going to get from that space.
How has gender bias affected, our communities on a whole?
I think gender bias is, and maybe I just want to take a step back on this one. The issue about gender bias is that it's the absence of our understanding and appreciation for the differences that has created the problems. And that's something that is a consequence of both sides. Not just women doing it to men or men doing it to women. It's both sides have lost sight of what the other is about. And because of that, we can't have healthy conversations. We can't have healthy relationships because now everything is the whole equal thing. But here's a simple example. A man needs to feel appreciated differently to how a woman needs to feel appreciated.
True.
If you go and give a man a bunch of flowers and tell him thank you for something he's done, he'll appreciate the gesture. But if what he's done for you, you take it for granted and just like treat it as if it's of no value, that gesture will mean nothing. In fact, it will feel like a taunt. It will feel as if you're just being token gratitude towards him. Because men feel appreciated when what they do for you, that is appreciated. Right? Not the fact that they did it, but what they actually produced for you, what they provided, what they created, what they solved, that you must actually show appreciation in how you experience that and how you use that and how you take that and build on it. Then a man feels appreciated because he's a problem solver. Whereas a woman feels appreciated when you recognize her effort, when you acknowledge her emotional duress, when you show that you understand how much pressure she's under. A man doesn't care if you recognize how much pressure he is under unless you're diminishing that in what you're demanding from him.
Mm-hmm.
A man needs to feel as if they are contributing in a valuable way by knowing that they are solving problems for their family, for their partner, for their extended family structure, whatever it is. And if they can't do that, they're going to embellish that with what they have.
Okay.
Then they're going to focus on materialism, on accumulating stuff so that people can respect them for how much money they've got, what car they drive, what house they have, where they live, what labels they wear.
This makes so much of sense. I've been quiet the whole time because we needed this breakdown. I mean, how many times who unencrypts the information, if that's a word? You know, who unencrypts, decrypts, descripts. You know, who how men feel, why they feel that way. We have enough people talking about women.
Yes.
Go onto social media. Everybody's dumping. You know,
Yes.
This is how you should treat a woman. This is how, when a man does this to a woman, this is how you should react. Get into your own lane, you know. Bad energy, they call it.
Yes.
Bad energy, you know. And not in the negative way, in a go hard or go home. Like,
Yes.
you can be everything to yourself that a man can be to you and more.
Yes.
So that does create, and then like we said previously, it's not the whole population of men that have hurt you. It's one person. So why paint everyone with the same brush?
And then you go and you keep trying to solve the same problem, so you make yourself available to the same kind of man again and again, and you keep thinking, well, see, all men are the same. No, you're just fishing in the same pond.
Yeah. A lot of people have said to me, I'm dating the same guy in same person in three different guys. Am I the problem? And you're sitting there going, ooh, are you ready for this?
And you know what's the next trigger point for me on that?
Right.
When someone starts talking about laws of attraction.
Aye.
Because it's not about laws of attraction. It's about you not being self-aware about what you are offering.
Okay.
Right? Give you a simple example. A woman who has put in the effort to be self-sufficient, independent, financially stable by herself so that she doesn't have to rely on a man. For whatever good reasons she's got, no problem. Right? So then she goes out looking for someone for companionship. If she doesn't know what companionship should look like, right, and I mean meaningfully look like, not just what she wants from it, she won't know what to look at as attributes in the person who is approaching her to determine whether they are offering companionship or are they just offering a filler for that space that they've got. And here's what I'm talking about when I say you don't know what you're offering. A woman who is independent and self-sufficient and financially stable and all of that, she's offering some men, depending on who the man is. Some men see that as low maintenance.
Yeah. And low effort.
And low effort. Which means that I don't have to do much to please her. But what you need to do to please a woman like that, she's not communicating clearly because she's so focused on her independence and her accomplishments and how she's not in need of any of the material stuff from you. Which means that she doesn't realize that she's attracting someone who's looking for low effort relationships.
I hope the women are listening.
Right? And the men who don't know themselves, who don't have self-respect in that regard.
It's a meal ticket.
I'm going to need bodyguard after this. If you don't have self-respect, you're going to look for freebies.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to look for someone to make excuses for why it is that it's okay, don't worry, I know, maybe next month you'll try harder and maybe you'll be able to get something right or make something successful or whatever it is. There's no grit, there's no determination, there's no real conviction and resolve in saying this is my problem, I want to figure it out. It's always, well, the whole world is against me, this went against me, that didn't work out, this didn't work out. You don't know how difficult it is. Everyone's got a difficult life, trust me. Everyone has got a difficult life. And if you're going to go around wanting everyone to understand how difficult your life is, which is why you can't show up for them, then you're asking them to add to that difficult life they already have because you have a difficult life.
How inconsiderate. That triggers me. Like when women talk like this, that, you know what, no, it's hard for him. You know, it's fine. Obviously, everyone does have their difficulties, but I mean, there's something called manipulation.
Yes.
And it's a manipulative
and
tool
self-pity.
that self-pity, that empathy, trying to solicit that sympathy, that, that not empathy, sympathy, so
Yes.
that I can get what I want from this relationship. And then just, I'll give 10%, you the 90%.
Yes. And because I'm trying so hard, you need to appreciate my effort.
Yeah.
And that's why I absolutely despise participation awards. It's like giving the entire... Okay, I'll watch my language. It's a family show. It's like giving the entire group equal merit for a group effort where we know there was only one or two people in the group that carried the weight of everyone else.
Wow.
Participation is not something to celebrate. Contribution, conviction, follow through, availability to be able to actually solve problems, working both tirelessly at trying to figure something out. That's what earns merit and reward. And the biggest problem in relationships is that they don't have a joint goal. He's got his goal, she's got her goal, and between the two of them, they're hoping that they can have a good life. And the idea of a good life then is we're going to travel and we're going to have a good standard of living.
Yeah.
We're going to go to all the right places, have all the right trinkets and trophies and all of those nonsense. And quality of life, quality of interaction, quality of connection in the relationship, understanding each other, seeing each other. What's that?
What is that? Because, this is what a good life looks like. Don't we have it all?
Yes. Then we want to go and be misogynist like Andrew Tate and talk about how it is that women are using men and all that. No. It's got nothing to do with that. It's got everything to do with the lack of self-respect and the assumption that everyone must express themselves in the same way, which is the problem with mainstream mental health and psychology. We're trying to turn men into this emotionally expressive beings that just doesn't work for them innately. So some men might want to be able to express themselves, but that's going to be the exception.
In your experience, when you do like couples counseling, for example, and do you see typically males are like, I don't know what's the problem, like this is me, this is what I'm saying is the issue. Further than that, like, do you see males break down really and become that emotional whatnot?
I see males break down, but in different ways.
Okay.
I hear the stories about men who literally howl in their cars privately alone because they get to a point of such anguish and frustration and hopelessness that they just don't know how they're going to push through. And it's a good time to remind people that suicide rates, 80% of it, up to 80% of it is male.
Sure.
Right? So we need to stop this nonsense about believing that men don't have feelings and men don't have difficulties. We just deal with it differently. We're problem solvers. So we will see something as being futile because we can't see a way out.
Okay.
That's why women, and this is, it might be stereotypical or not, but it's a known fact that a lot of women just want to hear that it's going to be okay, even though they know it's not going to be okay. Right? They need that emotional reassurance about it. You tell a man it's going to be okay when he can see that everything is falling apart. He's going to look at you like, thanks, but it's still falling apart.
Yeah.
Because we're pragmatic by nature. When it comes to relationships and the way men express themselves differently from women, there's one important point I always try to point out, is that the relationship itself is not what needs to be fixed. The relationship is a consequence of the two people in it. It's a symptom. So if you don't like how the relationship looks, you need to see what is it in the two people involved in that relationship. What are they contributing to the relationship that is just not connecting? Why is the one person misinterpreting the other person's motives or intentions and vice versa? And this applies to all relationships, not just husband and wife. Father and son, mother and daughter, all over the place. Parents and children, extended family, whatever. If there's a problem in the relationship, it's because they are just not aligning. Expectations, aspirations, dreams, whatever it is. And then you don't go and say, well, we want different things, and you call it quits. Because I promise you that same problem will come up in your next relationship.
True. So
when it comes to how men express themselves, men will be exacerbated and completely deflated and disillusioned about life, but they're not going to need a box of tissues. They're going to need credible hope that there's a way to solve that problem.
Men are problem solvers.
Exactly. And a man who doesn't take pride in problem solving is a man who doesn't have self-respect. And I'm not just stereotyping or boxing them. If you are pragmatic by nature and you don't take pride in solving problems, it's because you are saving yourself from failing at it. So you'll avoid it. And like they say, show me a kid with a trust fund and I'll show you a tortured soul. If you are given everything and you don't have to solve problems to accomplish things, you have no sense of fulfillment, no sense of personal kind of respect, self-respect for the fact that you are capable. Now, that's how men need to experience things, and that's how they need to be able to contribute in a relationship. They want to be able to solve real-world problems for their partners and for their families, because that creates the quality of life for their family. Now, it's in seeing their family enjoying that quality of life while acknowledging their contribution that gives them fulfillment. But if you reduce that to, you're just a provider, you just pay the bills and you only put food on the table, but I'm the one doing all the work around here.
Yeah.
You just took everything that man went through to provide that. All the indignity they suffer at work at the hands of their bosses and customers and all of that. And you said that means nothing because the only thing you do is put money in the account.
And that just destroys everything. Like there's no hope of a connection there. In fact, it's sad. It's actually very, very worrying. That firstly that the suicide rate is like 80% males. The fact that you have this gap in understanding, and do you really take the time? And this is something I'm asking women. Do you take the time to understand as much as you want to be understood?
Yes.
That is also something. But I mean, I can create many problems for my husband to solve. That's a challenge. Okay, I hear it. I will be giving you all the problems you need to solve in order for you to...
No, that's not what we intended.
Let's go to a quick ad break. We'll be back after this. You're listening to the Chat Network, and your time flies when we are having so much of fun. So we just said men are from Mars, women are from Venus. So what I heard from what you said was that men are problem solvers, and women, we are problem makers. So let us be of use to each other so we can live in harmony.
We solve different problems, right? That's the thing. We need to appreciate that we are intended to solve different problems, not the same problems.
Yes, very true.
And if we don't recognize that, we're going to keep comparing notes. And when you're comparing notes, you're not comparing like for like, because you can't compare apples and oranges and say they're both fruit, so that's why they're supposed to be the same. Just because they're both human doesn't mean they're going to experience their humanness the same way. So here's a simple example that I give to some clients when they're having difficulty kind of like getting this, right? Say a man is showing up, he's providing, he's going to work and all of that, and one of the things he wants to do is he wants to create a space in the backyard to have a braai and a nice picnic or just a nice Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon outing with his family in the backyard. So he puts in the effort, he goes, he gets a nice gazebo made, he puts in a nice built-in braai or even a pizza oven, whatever it is, he creates a nice little entertainment area for his family, right? But he's working 5 or 6 days a week. So he comes home on the weekend and he says, let's have a braai in the backyard. And his family says, no, we're in the house all week. We want to go out. So they go out. And the next week again, let's have a braai in the backyard. No, let's go to this new place that opened up. Let's go to that mall. Let's go for this shopping. Let's go to that restaurant. What did they just do? Without meaning to do it and without realizing they were doing it. They just said that effort you put in to want to have a wonderful, grounding, wholesome family moment with us, the people that you feel important enough to want to provide for, we don't care about it. It's not important to us. So, yeah, the gazebo looks nice. The braai area is so amazing. When we have guests over, they're going to love it. But we're not going to enjoy it. And that's why I'm saying that when a man does something for his family and they treat it as utility, they treat it as if you're supposed to, that tells him, you don't appreciate me, you only want what you get from me.
And that is heartbreaking. You know, I have had situations where children have indicated that dad is just the ATM.
Yes.
And it's a joke.
And it's a joke, but it's a painful joke, right? Yeah. It's a hurtful joke. And my plea is not just to the women to see things differently about how it is that the men are showing up for them or trying to show up for them. It's for men who reduce themselves to being just a provider.
Men who reduce themselves
Yes.
to just being a provider.
Don't settle for the fact that I'm providing, so you got nothing to complain about, leave me alone, I want to watch my sports.
What should that man do?
I want that man to consider whether or not he's truly felt the joy of connecting with his children. He's already had the joy of connecting with his partner because that's why they got married, right? Well, we assume that that joy was experienced. If they've got children, then they would have had that joy as well of intimacy and closeness and affection and all of that. Hopefully, right? Because we know that that also is not always a pleasant experience. Because we become robotic in the way it is that we try and make life work. But for men who stop at being a provider and nothing more, and thinking that providing and giving materially is all that matters, I got my children everything of the best and I gave them everything they needed to get a start in life, and look how they treat me. It's because you were the ATM. You didn't make yourself available as more than that.
That's accountability.
That's accountability. So you take accountability for the fact that what you gave is what they received. And if you didn't give more than that, don't expect them to have experienced more than that with you. So men need to realize that if they were raised, and especially in our community, it's a normal thing to be raised in a home where men are aloof, emotionally aloof and detached, and women are the ones that are like all over the place, nurturing and taking care of and bringing things together. I'm saying the men, forget about patriarchy, forget about misogyny, forget about Andrew Tate and all of his kind, and understand that you are denying yourself the joy of having moments with your children that will far outlive anything you give them materially.
That's very powerful. This thing of I want to give my kids everything I never had. Well, emotionally, what didn't you have as well?
And that's the thing, right? You need to recognize that this is the difficult part, right? For women, being emotionally expressive and available is something that comes naturally because of their nurturing nature, right? So they're born with an innate kind of nature to want to express themselves emotionally and to create space emotionally. For men, if they didn't experience that in their formative years, in their early childhood, if they didn't experience that closeness, that affection, and all of that, it doesn't come naturally to them. So later in life, they just draw a blank. And I mean draw a blank. You'll get men who are really great humans and great partners and everything else, but they'll find it absolutely difficult to apologize. They won't avoid making right what they might have gotten wrong, but they won't say sorry for getting it wrong. That doesn't mean that they're arrogant or aloof. It just means that to them, that feels so vulnerable that they can't bring themselves to admit that weakness. Right? And it's like, I always tell people that, you know, if you've actually experienced a proper hug from someone, say from your parents when you were small, and you know what that hug feels like, an embracing hug, and you go to someone who has never experienced that, then the person that never experienced it, you sit them down and you tell them, when you want to hug someone well, this is how you hold them, this is how much pressure you apply, this is how long you hold them, this is where you place your hands, this is how you pull them close to you, all of that. This is where you, like, you know, the gesture, you describe it in absolute detail, and they master it in absolute detail. The person who received a hug before will feel that that hug is mechanical. It's foreign. They'll feel like, no, you're not really into it. You're just like, you're just doing it. It doesn't feel like we're connecting. That's the difference. Men are problem solvers and analytical by nature. So if they don't experience that in their childhood years, that affection, that emotional availability and expression, it doesn't come naturally for them to want to express it later on in life. So they'll compensate for it through other ways, in how they serve, how they show up, what they provide, what they fix, what they solve, all of that sort of thing. But it's not hopeless. The opportunity they have to be able to develop that is when they make themselves available to experience it in a safe space. That safe space is either with their partner, if they have that level of trust, or it's with their children, because children are innocent and don't have judgment when you are trying to show up for them. Which is why you'll find that a lot of men can be available to their children up until a certain age, and then there's tension. The tension is not there because they suddenly don't love their children. It's there because then that emotional undertone kicks in, where they know that their children now have expectations, they have opinions, they can judge them, they don't know how to show up for them. If they didn't have that kind of a relationship with their father, they wouldn't know how to be available in that way to their children. And that's why we can't expect men and women to respond to the difficulties of life in the same way.
I love that. And seeing as November is Movember, it's Men's Mental Health Month as well. This conversation is so apt. I love where it has gone to. I think that we have gotten some crucial points across today. What do you think?
I think so too, and I think I'm hoping that we stop seeing each other as just these placeholders that are supposed to serve us.
Placeholders were supposed to serve us. You know what? I will have to go and create some problems. It has been an absolute pleasure, Coach Sage. I can't even tell you how much we love picking your brain.
I love having my brain picked.
We love it because, I mean, I think that to an extent, women need to understand you can't just expect and expect and expect. And men need to understand certain pivotal points as well. But I find that the voice is louder about what women need, and it's kind of softer around what men need. So we need more of these conversations, and we know you are the right person to deliver. And we thank you, Jazakallah khair, so much for spreading this knowledge and making us aware. And we sincerely hope that it's touched the people who are listening, and that we just better the community one person at a time.
I mean, I certainly hope so. And I think a final thought is just to remind people that men are not equipped by nature to explain themselves in the way that I might have explained the nature of men today, right? The reason I'm able to have this kind of ability to do it is because of very colorful life experiences that taught me about it. But men by nature, they're not going to be able to explain to you how they feel about things and why they feel about things and how it is that they interpret things, because they're just experiencing it.
Absolutely.
In the same way that women also often just feel the sway and the weight and the impact of the emotional experience, and they can't tell you why. They can just tell you that I need comfort, I need safety, I need security, I need support, I need assurance, but they can't tell you why. Same thing for men. So we need to create that space for understanding between each other rather than expectation about how we're supposed to show up and who's responsible for what.
Absolutely brilliant. Coach Said, Jazakallah once again. We look forward to next week. Same time, same place, right here on the Chat Network on 92.2 Eastwave FM. Have an awesome, successful week ahead.
Amin, and you too, and to the listeners as well.
Thank you so much. So just like that, the Chat Network comes to an end. Sadly, we need 5 hours. I'm just putting it out there. We need 5 hours. So management, I hope you're listening. And I'll be back with you between 7 and 10 tomorrow morning.